I'm back in long form, and this year we've got the biggest garden we've ever had, so I'm going to be doing a ton of videos on home food preservation. And if we've never met, I'm Ona Lee of Clara's Canning. Clara was my grandma. I'm a master food preserver and professional chef, and this is Clara's Canning channel. So if that's of interest to you, stick around. Today we're doing a pepper condiment with these Sarit Gat chilies, and I'm really excited to have them. These are basically unknown in America, and I got them through Uprising Seed. They're originally from Kosovo, and then they were bred in Austria, and now they're here. And if you'll notice, it's way too hot to be filming during the day, so I set up at night, and the bugs really like the lights. I haven't figured that out yet, but just bear with me. I'm basing this recipe today on Ball Canning's recipe for hot pickled peppers, but I'm going to add my own twist to it because there's some things that are procedural edits that you cannot change. I'm not going to be changing the percentage of the acidity of the brine or the processing time, but I will be changing the flavors a little bit. I used to work at a pizzeria called Speedy Romeo's in Brooklyn, and we had these really wonderful sliced pickled chilies, and I want these to kind of resemble that, although these are much hotter. And actually, I've never tried a ripe one, so we're going to do that right now. Oh my gosh. It's so good, but they're so hot. Hold on. I don't want to smoke myself out before we get into this. One more second. This recipe won't take very long at all, so we're just going to get right into it. These peppers have been washed, and I'm just going to slice them really thin, and then I'm going to see how many cups I get. And definitely do not skip the gloves if you're using hot peppers, unless you like burns where the sun don't shine. Me personally, I don't. So we're just doing a nice little slice on these. On the Uprising Seeds website, they say these are wonderfully productive, and they are not kidding. These plants are massive and they produce. They're producing more than any other pepper that I have. So we're going to be coming up with a lot of recipes for these over the summer. This is just the very first of what I want to do with these things. Some of these peppers are still a bit green, and I've noticed they're still very hot when green. They're just a little bit less floral and a little less sweet, but I think it'll be really pretty mixed that way. These are going to be really good on pizza, hot dogs, hot Italian Sammies, grinders, hoagies, whatever you want to call it. And currently I am completely self-producing my own videos for long form. It took me a while to get back to this. We moved from Washington to New Mexico in 2024, and it wasn't necessarily a welcomed move, but I've grown to really love where we are. But it takes a long time to get back into gardening and canning. We've had more kids, but I'm here and I'm excited to be here. These are really good. They're very floral. They're very hot, but very floral and sweet. They have a real sweetness to them. And I want that to reflect in the brine just a little bit. Not a sweet, like syrupy sweet pepper, but something my chef at the Spotted Pig told me. You want things to be properly seasoned, and that also means sugar. Because when something is properly seasoned and we're using something like acid, you want to fully balance it. Not just with salt, but sometimes sugar comes into play too. And if you wanted them to be only savory, no sweet whatsoever, you don't have to add that to the brine. The salt and sugar are not the preservative aspect of these chilies. It's the percentage of the brine with the vinegar. So you can adjust that to your taste. Okay, we've got the chili peppers sliced, and that is the hardest part of this entire recipe. It's really easy. Don't mind me, I'm just gonna get these in the compost here. And then we just need a couple garlic cloves. Let's go ahead and see how many cups of peppers we have here, because that will determine how many jars we need. Okay, we've got about 4 cups, so I think I'm gonna do 5 half-pint jars. Give it a little sweep. For this recipe, I would like 1 garlic clove per jar. I want the big fat cloves for this. There's 5. Okay, we're just gonna give them a little slap. Peel those. That's the easiest way to peel garlic. I know there's all sorts of tips and tricks out there, but to be honest, peeling garlic is peeling garlic. So I just like to give it a little smush until I hear that paper cracking. And it should come off relatively easy. Okay, this is what it's like opening brand new jars at elevation. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, not so bad. Not so bad. Of course, the first one really pops on me. These are brand new, but I still need to give them a little wash. And we're gonna get them in the water and we're gonna get our brine made. Okay, we're washed, and I'm gonna get the lids in a little pot with a splash of vinegar because we're on a well and we have hard water. So if you also have hard water, add a little splash of vinegar to your processing pot as well as what you're heating up them lids in, because it prevents the minerals and such in the water from coating your lids and jars, which is not a safety issue, but it is a quality issue. You don't really want to have to clean all that off the jars. So I'm just going to put this on and get it warm. It doesn't need to be boiling. They don't need to be sterilized. As per the new recommendations, anything that's processed over 10 minutes doesn't need to be fully sterilized before. I still do my jars though because they need to be hot anyways. I already have a pot of boiling water on. Why not? We've got the lids on, get them cranking on our little stove, turn that all the way down and just get them warmed up. Now we need to make our brine, which is going to be a 75% brine, and I need 4 cups total. So that means I'm going to do 3 cups of vinegar to 1 cup of water. And we're just using plain old white distilled. And I personally like 4 monks if I'm going 5% acidity vinegar. I just find it's a little bit higher quality. I used to find it really easily at Cash and Carry. They even had 5% wine vinegars, which I really love. We don't have Cash and Carry down here. We got Shamrock, and they don't have no 4 monks vinegar there. But Costco has 4 monks white distilled. It's a little shy of 3 cups. Boop. 3 cups of white distilled vinegar, 1 cup of water. And now Ball's recipe doesn't call for any salt in this whole thing, which I think is cuckoo. So I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. I like true salt. It's a whole sea salt without anti-caking agents and all blah, blah, blah. It has the magnesium and the potassium and all that. You use whatever kosher salt you want. However, if you're not using kosher salt and you're using table salt, you should probably start with half a tablespoon first, okay? Because the finer the grain, the more is going to fit into that measure. Also, I want this to be a touch sweet, just to play into the sweetness of the peppers so we don't lose that in the brine. And I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of raw organic cane sugar. And I'm going to taste it before I put these together just to make sure that's where I want it. This does need to come to a full rolling boil. This pot is almost up to warm. Oh, hello. Get out of there. You know, I'm so sorry, but the bugs can't help it. I'm just going to take that off a sec because I want to get this pot really cranking and get that brine up all the way. We've got our canning pot at a nice simmer, and we're always going to put them in at an angle because if you put them straight down, it's going to make a big old bubble, and that's going to splash boiling water on you. Like if you were to do that, don't ever do that. Do it at an angle. Nice. I'm just going to get that lid on and let them suckers warm up. Okay, our brine is at a full rolling boil, and we don't want that to reduce any because that would change the percentage of the acidity in the brine. So it's time to pack. I'm just getting those lids back on to keep them warming up. Let me get them jars. Now this recipe did call for pint jars, but I don't want to do whole pints of that because it's going to take me forever to go through each one. So what I'm going to do is not adjust the processing time. I'm going to keep it the same as a pint because if I were to start editing the processing time, that would go into the territory of procedural edits, which I'm not going to do. So, gloves. And at 5,500 feet of elevation, that means we need to process these jars for 20 minutes, which I kind of wish I was using Pickle Crisp. I'm not, but we'll see how these do. These are pretty firm. They're very crunchy. I think it's going to be all right. In addition to the salt I did in the brine, I am going to do a half teaspoon of kosher salt per jar. You can omit this and you might be saying to yourself, that's a lot of salt. But here's the deal. This is a condiment pickle. I'm not going to be putting a ton of them on, and I want them to impart a seasoning to whatever I'm eating them with. So they need to be well and proper seasoned. I'm going to go in with a 1/4 teaspoon about of some peppercorns, maybe a scant 1/4 teaspoon, just for a little flavor. And then I'm going to go in with 1 garlic clove, partially smashed per jar. And here we go, packing them chilies. We want to leave a 1/2 inch of headspace at the top of the jar. Did I sincerely underestimate? We'll see. I might pack them down a little bit. And the reason why the brine is a 75% is because you are somewhat tightly packing. For a lot of pickles, the brine is a 50%, maybe even less, depending. But that means there's a little bit more space in the jar for the brine to keep its proper percentage, because once you add the produce to your pickle, it's going to give its liquid to that brine, and that will change the percentage in the jar. So these percentages are factoring that. And peppers do have some water to them, you know? Let's see. How good is my... Ooh, you know what? I might be spot on. I was worried for a second, but this old dog still got her tracks. Let's see. Just kidding. I know what I'm doing. A lot of seeds in that one. That's going to be a spicy meatball. Okay, let's just check the pack on all those. All right, we're good. It's time to go in with that brine. Where's my ladle? Here we go. And we are going to fill the brine to a 1/2 inch headspace. Oh, man. That's why you always keep a spoon with you. Do not take that funnel out. If you overdo it, don't take that funnel out until you bail yourself out of a problem. All right, we're good. It's really easy to get a little excited on these tiny jars. And we're not going to check the final headspace until we debubble. That is very important, because if there's air trapped in that jar, it's going to give you a misreading on the headspace. And there's definitely going to be some air in this jar. Boop, boop, doo, doo, doo. It's a close call. Oh my gosh. These chilies really mean business, let me tell you. Holy. The vapor coming off this brine. This is a headspace debubbling tool. I love these. We're going to take this end and we're just going to smish smash. I know there's a lot of people out there that say they don't want plastic touching their food ever. I mean, find one that's ceramic, glass, do you. I don't know if they even make those, but what I can tell you is they make this. And this is one of my favorite tools. Doo-doo. You're just sort of squishing the bubbles out of these chilies, you know? And then we'll check headspace after we've done that. Bubble. It's a hot brine. This one's a little overfull, I can tell you that right now. You aren't escaping. Okay, now let's start checking the headspace. We're going to find the 1/2 inch notch on this tool and we're going to put it down. Does it touch the brine? It does. Does it touch the brine without going too far? It does. Touch the brine? It does. And this one, too much. Like I said, I'm just going to bail a little bit of that out. This is an outdoor kitchen. Just going to do that without missing our chilies. All right, we're good. Dang it. Oh, perfect. 4 out of 5 ain't bad. All right, now we need to wipe the rims on these jars. One sec. Sometimes I see people using some dirty old rags to wipe the rims of the jars, and I don't understand. Clean paper towel, okay? Just do a little dip in that hot water, and we're gonna wipe them rims. You know why? If there's something on the rim, the lid cannot make a good seal. You will not get a hermetic seal, which means it's not keeping oxygen out, okay? So you need really clean rims. And if there's little food bits in there, they're gonna rot, and they can bring that rot, could be a spore, into your jar, and that creates an unsafe environment. So now we got our magic wand. We got our little pot of lids right here. I love this tool. You don't need a whole lot of tools to can. The tools I do think you need: a good jar grabber, a magic wand, debubbler. Oh my gosh. These bugs, they love them lights. Sorry, but this is the country. All right, so when you screw the lid on a jar, you want to screw it until it no longer wants to naturally spin, and then you're just gonna, a little bit, don't over tighten your jars. That can lead to the glass breaking. It does not allow air to escape the jar as it's processing, which it needs to do. So you're not gonna crank it down. You're gonna let it spin till it stops, and then boop. Spin till it stops. Boop. All right, we're ready to get these in the canner. Let's go. This part is not as scary because it's not an open jar, just straight down. See the air escaping? And you need to have at least 1 inch of water over top the jars. Do not exceed 2 inches of water. So I'm just going to check that. It looks correct to me, but I like to check. And I check using a ruler. Bam! Perfect. 2 inches. See that? Oh, you can't maybe, but there. Can you see that? Perfect. 2 inches. And I crank the heat a little bit because we want a nice rolling boil before we start our processing timer. That'll take just another minute or so. All right, we've got a nice boil, so I just need to turn that down because we don't need it to boil so rapidly. The jars are clacking together and we're losing all our water. And I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes to adjust for the fact that we're at 5,500 feet of elevation. It has now been 20 minutes, so I'm going to turn that heat off. Remove this lid and we're going to wait another 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. Just going to tip a little bit of that water off and set them down on something where they will not get a shock. Don't set them on a metal or a stone surface. These are tempered jars, but you don't need to test that. All right, we've got our beautiful Sarit Gat condiment chilies finished. We're going to let those rest undisturbed for at least 12 hours, up to 24. And at that time, you're going to check the seal. If the button on top is indented, they're sealed. And then you can rinse the jars by taking off the ring. Just clean them off a little bit. Make sure to throw a label on them with at least the month and year they were canned. These will stay good on your shelf for up to 18 months. And once you open them, keep them in the fridge. They'll stay good for up to a month or more if you use a clean utensil when retrieving them. These are going to go so well on hot sandwiches, pizza, hot dogs, maybe even some Asian food. You hear that sound? They're already sealing. What a good sign. And to really know if your jar is sealed, remove the ring, because we always store our jars without the ring so that we're not getting false seals. If something bad happens, that lid's going to come off and it's going to tell you. But to know if your jar is really sealed, pick the jar up by just the flat alone without the ring. And if your jar stays together, it's sealed. Thanks so much for watching my first video back to long form. I hope you enjoyed it. And stick around because in the next video, we're doing nardello peppers from the garden as well. Okay, it's been a couple days, so I decided that I need to try these in front of you. Did y'all hear that seal? It was sealed. My baby thinks he wants one of these, and I know he doesn't. Okay. Can y'all see that? Look how beautiful that is. That is so good. I love these peppers. Hold on. There's such a wonderful flavor to these peppers. I can't even really put my finger on it because I've never had anything quite like this. And it is a lot like a yellow cayenne, but there's definitely just more of that floral something going on. Pardon you. And these peppers are not easy to find in the United States as of right now. So if you can't find them, you could use serranos, red cayennes, Fresnos, jalapenos, you know, whatever. Honestly, any hot pepper in this recipe will do. And you could even blend this and make a hot sauce from this. Or you could pulse them in a food processor and make like a chili sambal mash type sauce. And in addition to being great on things like pizzas and sandwiches and hot dogs and, you know, yada yada, I think it would be really good on things like Asian food or grilled meats. Really, honestly, wherever you want to put it. So anyways, if you try this recipe, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you think.
Ooh, those are yellow hots?
No, it's a Sarit Gat chili peppers I made. You like them?
Oh, they're hot.
Yeah, they're pretty hot, but taste one on its own. I think it's a manageable heat.
It is, and the flavor is like, you know those pepperoncinis that they have at like Subway? That's what
Oh.
you wish they tasted like.
I think those are banana peps, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Banana peppers.
It's an interesting pepper.